Carrie, Virginia, and Greg. Hey, good to see you guys. Tom and I were flapping our gums, so I didn't get to properly say hello and do the proper Zoom networking, but that's okay because I'm really good at flapping my gums. So here we go. I'm going to mute.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this little bit of sunshine, even though it's a little chilly. For me, we had too many cloudy days, so I'm glad to see the sun. Welcome to those on Zoom. We miss your smiling faces. Hope you decide to join us sometime soon in person, if you're able. I'd like to have Jeff Thompson come up and share with us the pledge and the four-way test and inspiration.
Hello, everyone. Let's start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Have a seat. My moment of inspiration today deals with history. And I know we have a lot of real historians in the group today, but this story, I'd never heard this before. So I hope some of you will know, but some of you won't know, like me. One day in Philadelphia, in the early days of the American Revolution, a founding father noticed a militia drummer who had painted a rattlesnake on his drum, along with the words, "Don't tread on me." It occurred to him that the rattlesnake is found in no other quarter of the world besides America, and may therefore be chosen on that account to represent her. She never begins an attack, nor, when once engaged, ever surrenders. The founding father said, "I confess I was at a loss what to make of the rattles till I went back and counted them and found just 13 exactly, the number of the colonies united in America. One of those rattles singly is not capable of producing sound, but the ringing of 13 together is sufficient to alarm the boldest man living." Does anyone know who made those statements? That was Benjamin Franklin. I picked that up from Ken Burns' Benjamin Franklin show. Now, let's please take a moment of silence and be grateful for family, friends, the leaders of Lexington, our community, Kentucky, the United States, and the people of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Now I'd like to invite Mike Baker to the podium for the introduction of our guests.
Good afternoon. We have no visiting Rotarians and we have no Rotaracts, but we do have some special guests. Susie Basham, if she's over there, she's going to introduce hers.
Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to see you. These are my friends. This is Sarah Kirby. She's with Bluegrass Religion. She's actually with the association and has worked with Shea. So we're real excited to hear his presentation. Miss Madam Christine Wilkin, she's with Bright Bugs, which is a food insecurity program that works within the schools. So we're excited to have her here as well.
And Eric Brooks has guests.
Thank you. I am today seated at the Ashland table. I have with me today our Director of Education, Candace James, and our Associate Curator and Volunteer Manager, Ian Payne. You all know Franklin, Board Member Emeritus at Ashland, Henry Gladstone.
Thank you. Jeff's going to introduce Lucas.
Here we have Lucas McElroy. He is an excellent financial advisor. We appreciate that he is here today.
And Tom Lester's not here, but he brought Matthew. Where are you, Matthew? Matthew, he's a guest of Tom. So welcome to Rotary. And last but not least, where are you, Dylan? There he is.
Hey everyone, with me is Trent and Becky Mobley. Trent runs a pest control company that services residential and commercial properties, so really good friends of mine.
Welcome to Rotary, everybody.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you to all the Rotarians bringing guests today. It's nice to see the room filled, and hopefully you, all of you guests will continue to come back and visit us and maybe think about joining this illustrious group of members that do a big impact in our community as well as worldwide. All right, Bruce Daly, let's do the lottery. I should have had you pick my numbers since I don't have any luck. All right. The first number is, what are we looking for? Ace of spades. Ace of spades, $380. The first number is 0048. Oh, I did pick two. And the second number is 0054. You're 48. Oh, thank you for your donation. 0054. Oh, Bob. Good luck.
Just keep one. Oh, so close.
Thank you for your donation. Celebrating birthdays this week, we have Bridget Blom, Michael Stutlin, Kay Hughes, and Bruce Bell. Happy birthday, Rotarians. Hopefully you've had some time to take a few minutes to look at the wheel horse. There's a lot of great pictures in here, and I wanted to give some kudos to our PR and marketing committee for the wonderful work that they've been doing in trying to get Rotary's name out in the community and getting us to participate in events. And we had a wonderful first networking series that we have a lot of communication going back and forth with potential members. So we're very excited about that. And so Dylan, Jenny, and Crystal in particular, the three of you have really spearheaded that. Thank you so much. We just completed a recent Rotary Leadership Institute last weekend, I believe. And Alicia Chafin completed all three parts of RLI and graduated on Saturday. Congratulations, Alicia. Just a reminder that we don't have a meeting on the 15th of February, and also on because that's our third week of the month and we're doing Rotary differently. And we have several exciting things for you to do that week. And then also on the 29th, that's the 5th Thursday. So we won't be having a meeting here for lunch, but we do have a trivia night scheduled at Columbia's that evening. On the week of the 15th is Valentine's Day, which is an important day for those of you that are married or have someone significant in your life. And one way that you can kind of have kill two birds with one stone is go to our murder mystery dinner over at is it at Sedona Tap House in Palomar, then you check two things off your list there. You can take your partner or whatever to the dinner and have great food and fellowship with Rotarians. So hope you'll join us for that. I'd like to have Alicia come up to the podium to announce some of our volunteer opportunities for that Doing Rotary Differently Week.
Hi, everyone. We specifically have something available that if you're interested, please speak to Chris Campbell. He needs four volunteers to do job interviews with his wife's English class with the Kentucky Refugee Ministries. So we need 4 and it's February 14th. So if you're available in the morning to help do mock interviews, please let me or Chris know. And we'll get you set up. Also, I think what we're planning to do, here's Chris, is Natalie's Kitchen. I still need to get with Susie about that. I think what we want to do is make enough sandwiches for a month instead of making sandwiches for a day, which is about 10 sandwiches. So instead of making 10, making 100 so that they can freeze them and always have some on hand. So as I get more information about that, I'll make sure you guys have it as well.
And that's another committee, our community outreach, that is doing a tremendous job. We really appreciate all the work that you're doing. We have lunch sponsorships available. So if any of you have a desire to highlight your business, you're allowed to have a table out front with some brochures and information. You'll also be able to speak at the networking events and be highlighted there as well. So if you are interested, get with Brett, myself, or Peggy for more information on that. I'd like to ask Andrew Schenken to come up to the podium. And is Nandy joining you or just? No, okay. To talk about Foundation Day. He's our foundation chair this year.
Thank you, Madam President. You chased her away when you mentioned murder mystery, bring your spouse. So I'm either going to get murdered or I'm going to be the murderer. I don't know. Fellow Rotarians, the Rotary Foundation, we're going to put a little bit different spin on it this year for Foundation Day. I have entrusted a handful of Rotarians who will come up here and do some presentation and tell their personal stories. But I think we're due for a little bit. What does the foundation do? How can you support it? And to make it even a little bit better, we're going to do something different this year. And Nandy, I'm so sorry I voluntold you for this project. I'm going to have my Cajun bride make an incredible batch of her award-winning, world-famous jambalaya. I love that enthusiasm. Because let me tell you how it's going to work for you. For anybody who donates $100 to the foundation, you will get what we call down in Louisiana a little lagniappe. And that's called a little something extra. And that will be a 16-ounce container of her jambalaya. We'll ask for a little bit extra to help support so we can actually buy the ingredients and actually get it distributed. So for $110, and you'll get more information about this next week during the foundation, and we will keep that advertised. We're hoping to spread a little cheer of Louisiana with you and your families, and then more importantly, help celebrate with Mardi Gras around the corner next on the 13th to have something for your home to celebrate. So more to come next week, but that's a little bit of teaser what we're going to do. So I hope you bring that enthusiasm and support the foundation this year and get a little lagniappe.
Thank you, Andrew and Nandy, for spearheading this, and it should be really fun. And I look forward to eating some of that. Now I would like to ask Brett Anderson to come to the podium and introduce our newest Rotarian. Come on up, Trinity.
Thank you, Madam President. Trinity Johnson, hardworking, an eye for detail, entrepreneurial spirit. She owns real estate and a bookkeeping company called Prestige Bookkeeping. Married to Drake, and together they have 3 kids. And when not working, she's a lot of fun. If you like to boat, you can find Trinity and her family at the lake most weekends, enjoying the lake in their boat. Trinity was a friend of my wife, a friend of mine, and now a friend to Rotary. Help me welcome the newest member of the Rotary Club of Lexington, Trinity Johnson.
I got the pleasure of getting to know Trinity, so I'm so excited that she's here as well. And now for the introduction of our speaker, Eric Brooks.
Thank you, President Kim. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I am very pleased to be here today. I think you will find today's program both inspiring, informative, and entertaining at the same time. I was intrigued that John, in our newsletter today, when he wrote the article about our speaker, you can read all about him in the newsletter, included the editor's note about being a vault rat back in the 80s. And I find that interesting because at least some of the time I was a vault rat with him. As it happened, my mother worked with John at what was then Greenbaum Dahl and McDonald, now Bingham Greendahl. And she was a real estate attorney like John. And she was tasked with doing the title search work for the Toyota plant in Georgetown. Well, that's a big hunk of property and a lot of titles. So I went with her to help lift heavy deed books at the Scott County Clerk's office. And in that process, I got to see many of the deeds. And that was the first time that I had ever seen a historic document, an original historic document that referenced slavery. Many of those deeds not only transferred property, not only transferred land or houses or cattle or sheep or pigs or whatever, they transferred people. And that was a revelation to me. I could not imagine that such a thing was possible. And over the course of many years, my career trajectory took me back to doing that sort of work. And after a time at Ashland, I discovered that I needed to go to Shea's office because he had records that weren't anywhere else. For example, Henry Clay's son, James B. Clay, took out a mortgage on January the 24th, 1844 for $1,318.73, the surety for which was 4 men, Alfred, 25, Levi, 25, Lewis, 23, and Oliver, 21. That mortgage was paid back in July of 1844. But had it not been, those 4 men would have been sold down at Cheapside with no regard for them or their families or their friends or anyone else. They would have been sold to satisfy that debt. They were property in every sense that we think of our houses, our cars, etc. That's both very sad and very frightening in many ways. But that's the truth of the institution of slavery, and it is the ancestry of many people. Many people have only these sorts of records to go to if they want to understand who I am. And it's because people like Shea worked so hard to find this information and now to make it available so that you can access it from the comfort of your desk chair or your home or wherever you have an internet connection, that it is so widely available and people can begin to understand the question that Shea will answer for you today. I've come to know him reasonably well. I've spent a fair amount of time down at the clerk's office. I urge you to go there and check out some of this stuff for yourself. See the real thing. There's nothing that compares to that. Shea has recently become a member of the board of directors at Ashland and Henry Clay Estate. So technically he's my boss. No pressure here. Shea also joined an elite fraternity last year. He joined the fraternity of people who have slept at Ashland since 1948 when the last resident, well, since 1959 when the last resident moved out. He spent the night there. He and I both did in August of last year. Shea, your wife is, as far as I know, the first woman to do that since Nanette McDowell Bullock did it when she died in 1948. So that's a very small fraternity. We can talk about it if you feel so inclined. I wouldn't recommend it. It's really not nearly as enjoyable as it sounds. But anyway, Shea.
Eric talked about that sleepover. I met a good chiropractor in here. My back still feels the pain on that thing. Air mattress, air mattress. To the Rotary Club constituents, thank you for that introduction, presentation there, Eric, and to Madam President, and for allowing me to be here. Who am I? They say I'm black, brown, or beige. Or some say maybe I'm tan, golden, yellow, dark caramel, or even a mulatto. Who am I? And my name isn't the same. My identity can be unknown. My heritage is speculated, often misunderstood, or even assumed. My occupation is that of a servitude or a slave. I traveled a many roads from master to master to master. Who am I? My pronunciation isn't like yours. My dialect is a bit different. My speech at times can be slurred. My talk is different and my walk is not the same. To some, I am a forgotten story, or rather to be erased by so many. Who am I? Well, I tell you who I am. I am you when you look at yourself in the mirror. I'm your children that play out in the yard. I am your parents that show you love. I am black and proud. I am courageous and strong. For I am important and of great value. And now I am remembered here this day through a groundbreaking project known as the Digital Access Project, short for DAP. Enslaved or emancipated, for whatever it may be. For through the Digital Access Project, my name will be forever remembered and honored to show the world that yes, I am really free. Who am I? Let me remind you about the Digital Access Project. Kentucky County Court Clerk records will reveal that Black humans were classified as personal property, and therefore they were either sold, transferred, conveyed, purchased, auctioned off, mortgaged as security, appraised as inventory, and even bestowed to another person as a gift upon a testator's death in a last will and testament. So through the Digital Access Project, a project which I co-direct with Dr. Vanessa Holden, who is the director of the University of Kentucky African American and Africana Studies, as well as the director of the Central Kentucky Slavery Initiative, as well as an associate professor at the University of Kentucky. Through our partnership, we develop a project known as DAP. What is DAP? DAP is bringing to light now more than 90,000 pages of records, 176 books of Fayette County property history spanning from the late 1700s through 1865 and counting. Many of these books include records identifying names of enslaved people who were either sold, purchased, or even emancipated. Deed mortgage records of enslaved people who were used as collateral to secure a mortgage debt, and wills and estate appraisements, inventory, settlements, and all other probate records of enslaved people. County court orders which contain various situations surrounding enslaved people, and we have digitized the Declaration of Marriage book, a book that was allowed by a law in 1866 to allow Black people to register their marriages, those who were considered married before the Civil War. DAP is a project designed to modernize through digitizing by making Fayette County's property history technologically available and accessible online to the public for free. Y'all didn't get it. DAP is a project modernized through digitized by making Fayette County property history technologically available and accessible online to the public. Hold my sign up for free. Records that we've digitized is records such as deeds, wills, or burnt records, because the first county clerk, Levi Todd, stored the records on his property in a fire and it was burnt down. So a lot of those fragment pieces was preserved and put in a collection called burnt records. Whatever the fragments are, we've digitized those records. We've digitized county court orders. We digitized old Fayette surveys surveys even by Daniel Boone. How many of y'all know Daniel Boone? Heard about him. That's right. I know y'all don't know him. Y'all wasn't born back that time like I was. We have those Fayette surveys. Now you got to remember, think about Fayette County, how it was then. Kentucky it didn't have the 120 counties that we have today. It only had 3 counties, Fayette County, Lincoln County, which is where I'm from, and Jefferson County. So Fayette County pretty much stretched all the way up through the Ohio River, all the way across to the eastern part and upper eastern part of Kentucky. So we have those survey records that are fascinating and interesting to look at. And we digitize those because a lot of the enslavers purchased property in those particular areas. So you can get a geographical, for UK geography class, they can get a map location of where possibility of those who were enslaved were residents and located at that particular time. We've digitized the Declaration of Marriage records. And guess what? We're still digitizing. We're still digitizing records. And like Eric said, they're old, heavy, dusty, old colonial style books that words are fading away, books are deteriorating. So if we don't digitize these records, we can lose the history of Lexington, the history of Kentucky. So we want to preserve this information. We want to keep it so that people can still do genealogy research and title search. In our records, we have different records that deal with the institution of slavery. We have slave deeds, proof of ownerships where a person owned slaves from another state, such as Maryland, Louisiana, Virginia, and they imported the slaves into Kentucky. They filed them in county court orders. Many of them did. We have deed mortgage of slaves, power of attorneys to allow someone to purchase or sell slaves. We have bill of sale of slaves, trust slaves, such as Henry Clay. He was a great lawyer, so he would do a lot of trust deeds that concerns the ownership of slaves for other people. We have county court orders, wills, inventories, appraisements, and anytime someone died and they owned someone who was enslaved, they would list them in their inventory and give them appraised value in the same category as their cigar set, their wine collections, their horse and buggy, their cattle, their livestock, and all of that was grouped into that. DAP is a partnership between the Commonwealth Institute for Black Studies out of the University of Kentucky. Fayette County Clerk's Office, we're in partnership with them. We're in partnership with the Lexington Black Prosperity Initiative. We're in partnership with LexPart to digitize these records. And let me let you know that when we began this project, the ideal goal was to scan and digitize records that pertain to enslaved individuals. But I felt compelled to say that if we were to do that, we would limit our availability of community engagement and conversations. So when we had our first initial meeting, I said, how about we just digitize all the records? Because I have colleagues that live in other areas, in other states, and Miss Yvonne Giles, she's a local historian. She told me that she's gonna keep coming in her wheelchair. And she said, when she comes in a wheelchair, I have to get up there and carry all those heavy books for her and get them copied. And I said to myself, she's wrong. I'm from a generation where we figure out how to work smarter rather than harder. And so we decided to digitize all these records. And a lot of my customers from other states after the pandemic, plane tickets are high. Most people are still fearful of COVID and other sick situations, and it's hard to travel. So by having these records made available online, it allows easier access to these records. People can use their personal computers to enhance the image quality, to advance it, to blow it up to where you can read it. Because when I was little, I didn't realize how important your eyes were, but as I get older, I wear these glasses, I can't see. So the computer does the work for us to digitize and raise them up and allow us to see them. How do you access these records? This is important. You go to, I wish you had a pen and paper on you. If you did, you go to fayettedeeds.com. fayettedeeds.com. The county clerk's office by statutory law must digitize records beginning from today going back to a certain time period. Here at the Fayette County Clerk's Office, we digitize from today going back to at least around 1980s to fit the current law. The laws are designed to fit the category of Kentucky realtors and lawyers and title searchers and all of that fashion and banking industry. But we often forget about history. So through the Digital Access Project, we started with our very first book from the late 1700s, around 1780s, and we digitized them going forward. So while the county clerk's office we're doing the work of going back in time, through the DAP, we're going from the beginning, going forward in time, and hopefully we can meet, and hopefully Fayette County can be pretty much the first county that have all of our records digitized and made available to everyone, again, for free. Another website you can look at is the FayetteCountyClerk.com. On that, you can go to land records, look at the Digital Access Project, and I've placed on instructions on how you can access the DAP information. Tells you the books that we have digitized, how to navigate through the system, even if you're not tech savvy. It's put in simple forms to where you can access this information and navigate through it. Now let's begin. Who am I? Can everyone put your hand on the chair you're sitting in? You touch it. You can take that chair, you can move it around, you can wiggle it. You can get mad at someone next to you, pick it up and hit them with it. You can break it. You can do all kinds of stuff with that chair because it's a personal item. So the question is, can that chair, can that personal property possess or own real estate? Can personal property own real estate? Well, who is a Negro woman named Millie? We're going to quickly talk about it. Let's see what the Digital Access Project can uncover for us. What do we know? Keep going. Our clicker's getting in the way. I tell you, technology. Customer comes in and say, I think that Millie was last owned by a woman named Sarah Johnson. Who is a white woman named Sarah Johnson? You go to FayetteDeeds.com. You click on land record search. Click on land record search. You click on non-indexed documents because the images we have not fully indexed them yet. You saw the statistic, over 90,000 pages. That's a lot of pages. 176 books. You go to our indexes because we put on digitization the indexes of the names of our records. You go in here, you find Johnson is through I through L. That's the index for Johnson. 1794 to 1903. That deals, don't go by the 1794. That's when the county clerk started putting them in book record. The records date prior to 1794. You go to I through L because the letter J falls in that category, right? A, B, C, D, E, F. General index to deeds and mortgages, what that is, index book I through L. We look for Sarah Johnson. She's on page 102. Trust me, she's on page 102. You go right there when you click on the computer. Here's our page numbers on the side. They're in 6.3 digit format. You go to page 102. It pulls up the record. Right there at the bottom is Sarah Johnson. The index itself is not great. It's fading, but that's why we digitized it. You look at it. If your eyes cannot read it, it's hard to read. I can see it real good up here. But just pretend you're at home and this is right in front of your face. So that's Sarah Johnson at the bottom. It tells you that she has a will, and there's another Sarah Johnson that died in 1863, but we know our Sarah Johnson died before 1863. Here we see a will there that says when this